Hello and welcome to Light News Radio, Realms of Self-Empowerment, now in our fifth year, bringing you topics on the mind, body, spirit, and tools and techniques. You think I'd know this after 4.5 years, right? To awaken you to higher conscious states. I am your host, Dr. J, and I also hope to have my co-host on today, who's on travel, Deirdre Layton. And please do share and follow. Together we bring you grounded metaphysics, where the spiritual rubber hits the road, real-life teachings and applications that are pertinent and relevant to you.
Okay.
She is a vocalist, a composer, an inspirational speaker and writer. She creates music, performances, writings, courses, and retreats, serving as transcendental experiences for groups and audiences international. Vima bridges spirit, science, mystical wisdom, and human experiences through the arts with transformational refinement with an otherworldly voice. I love that about you. Vima's lifelong immersion and education in music, chant, ancient cultures, and yoga, merged with spiritual inner explorations, establishes her ability to spontaneously interface deep spirituality and self-actualized living. I think this is good. I mean, you've created many CDs to your credit. You have a lot of events. Well, one of them we're going to talk about that you've got coming up. I think it's in April. And you've authored and published 4 books, as well as you're a featured writer in international publications. So, you're a very accomplished individual. We've had you on Light News Radio, I think 3 times, and the last time I believe was May of 2018. And so now my wonderful assistant is also working with you, and I think she's going to be appearing with you later in Hawaii. So Vima, let me welcome you to Light News Radio once again. What a delight to have you on.
Thank you, Richard. And it's lovely to see you. Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Richard. This is wonderful. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm so glad. I mean, there's so much to talk about relative to the healing power of sound and sound that's actually used in healing. And I know that this has been central to your life path because we have had the fortunate occurrence to be able to interview you and sample some of your music. So why don't before I go into some of these questions that I've prepared, why don't we just let you kind of introduce yourself a little bit more than just written in the bio, because most people just want to know, well, who really is this person?
hmm Well, I don't know what else to say other than, I mean, it's lovely written, and mahalo for reading it. Thank you. Uh, I just have to say that this is, even though I've been in the music business, done, and create performances and things of that nature. After one of my dear death experiences, it became very clear that the subtlety of vibration and frequency and energy had to be transmitted through compositions and music, not only through my voice, but voices of the choirs and the compositions that, of the musicians, etc. And fortunately, I work with producers that are phenomenally conscious and aware, especially as far as social, what drives the social unconscious, subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
on a very, very, very broad vision and futuristic vision. And when we were talking about the aspect of sound, I can remember as a little girl, we all have our situations in childhood, of course. And I used to go in a closet and hum to myself and go into meditation. What I know now is meditation, but back then, that was my way of not allowing whatever it was that was disturbing, whether it was issues at school or home, whatever. Um, it kind of recalibrated, reset my energy because unlike all children, actually most children, all children, I can speak freely of that, I hope. Um, there are sensitivities, and they're pretty aware. So sound has always been very instrumental in my ability to transform energy. Later on in life, two near-death experiences, and really changed my perspective and the things that I saw in relationship to healing.
Well,
And what,
when you
go
say
ahead.
near-death experience, does that mean, the physical body actually did die,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you come back into the body?
Hmm. Yes.
So there was a transport, there was a transcendence there that actually did
Oh,
happen, and then the body was resuscitated or revived.
yes. That's exactly what happened. It was a car accident. First one was a car accident. The second one was in surgery about a month after the car accident. And I immediately went into the light. There was no tunnel, no relatives, nothing. And from that experience, in that experience, I saw myself, my body, absolutely perfect, nothing wrong with it. And I was actually telling them that I was okay, but I was seeing that they were trying to revive me, with the thing that they put on your chest to bring your heart back and to get things moving
Oh, like
again.
a
Yeah,
defibrillator, the electrical shock.
right,
Ah,
right. And I was telling them I was okay. The time span, I think, was like 5 minutes, five 5 to 7 minutes. They said I was gone.
that's that's a long time.
That's a very long time. However, um, and it was really interesting because I was on the brink of signing well, we did sign a record deal, and we were just going into the studio to start recording, doing the recording contract. And then I had this accident. And what became abundantly aware throughout my healing process was this is not the kind of music that I was supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
So as time went by, when I saw my body perfect, and then I came back into my body, there were a lot of injuries to my legs, to my head, especially my head, a lot of cuts, and was brought to the hospital. But I kept on seeing my body as being perfect. I was in this beautiful light. I was the light. It was the me that's not me. It was there.
Very
So
compelling.
yes, it was. I can't even begin to I call it the realm of the thousand suns. And
Wow,
even, yeah, I wrote it. I wrote some things about it in my blog.
that's a
And I
great
call,
term. I love that. Where did you
well,
go? I went to the realm of a thousand
I
suns.
have a thousand suns,
Many
definitely.
Canadians would love that.
I'm sure. But the beautiful thing was that I had leg problems. I had what they call brain damage. My motor control was out. I would have seizures where I would lose motor control. My legs and my hands would give out. Of course, memory lapses and things of that, all the natural things that happen with a severe head injury. But I kept on seeing myself as perfect in the sun. I kept on seeing myself in the second death experience. I went through the same thing. However, I came back. And this is another thing. I didn't want to come back. I didn't, the first time I didn't want,
Mhm.
I'm fine, leave me alone, I'm good.
Yeah,
The second time, I didn't want to come back. I wasn't at a pearly gate or in front of
one
the
of the
beam of
stained.
light and
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I want to go back or I want to stay." There was no choice. I was just tossed back into my body, so to speak, and I didn't want to come back. So there were a lot of psychological, emotional, and energetic things I had to deal with. Depression was another
Mhm.
thing. That when you have an experience like that and you're in this experience, nothing makes sense anymore. This is a circus. Yeah.
Well, having two events like that within a month's time certainly hits the reset button and recalibrate
Oh,
everything towards, what's important in life and what is superfluous or just simply not central to the direction that, I believe that every one of us has a specific contribution to make that,
Mm.
we're advised to let go of comparing ourselves to each other, what those contributions are.
Mm.
But your contributions, and we have the luxury, Vima, of having interviewed you 3 times. So we've got a chance to feel, the fullness of your commitment, your dedication, your purity of intent, and the level of work that you do it's on a very high level. So I think that one of the things our listeners, our viewers would love is, as you know, there is a component to bringing sound and sound healing and music to people that heavily involves intuition. Like in my terminology, I would say, I'm feeling the group soul of those people to whom I will sing or to whom I will play. And then I go, like when I do a guided imagery meditation, my script actually comes from the people that I'm doing the guided imagery meditation. So maybe if you'd like, kind of take your work for our viewers in the venue of sound intuition, how to raise that group soul consciousness, and ways that you do it that you feel you would like to share with us.
Well, I feel one of the most um, profound things I have taken away from the death experiences is bringing heaven to earth through sound. And so, in my own healing process, I could see that any obstructions were significantly keeping me from realizing myself. And so, when I would heal, rather than reacting and responding in a way um, that would cause a backup, meaning, oh, I'm in so much pain, et cetera, et cetera. Even in my mind, I had
Mhm.
to apply meditation. I do these darkroom meditations. That was very significant in the healing process. Apply meditation, apply and use sound to be able to clear the obstructions of both the physical, mental, psychological. And then sound eventually to heal the brain damage. Within 3 months after working with someone, the seizures went away.
That's wonderful.
And we used an ancient system of sound. So going into what you were saying, I realized after that, of course, I didn't go back into the music business that I was in before. And I realized, how am I going to create the music? Where are the music visions to come from? So eventually I did these world beat operas, integrating healing music, using various techniques that I've not only intuited, but also Mid-Eastern and Eastern tantric sound practices in Nada Yoga and pranayam and meditation to apply to the compositions.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see an audience or work with an audience, I always say the retreats and the speaking are teachings that explain how, and the concerts are the energetic uh, imprint, are the energetic experiences of transcending, of evolution, of shifting frequencies, shifting wave patterns. And so this is how I see healing. Healing, everybody everybody is capable of being their own healer. It's just a matter of teaching them
Mm-hmm.
various techniques how. The ancients talk about it, and I get it now, how and what they are talking about, even in relationship to chanting and mantra, and how these, and also we talk about the chakras and kundalini and how all of that relates to this.
Mm-hmm.
Clearing obstructions so the full life force can move through, so that you
Mm-hmm.
actually are the experience of that, of the self. You are that. You are in that vast realm of oneness.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do concerts unless I really feel I am ready to do to bring this to people. And also audiences, it's very strange, audiences come that are ready. So even on stage, sometimes I'll sing Ave Maria in one octave
Mm-hmm.
on Friday night. And then Saturday night, I'll go up an octave because
Oh,
they need that frequency of sound.
depending on where the group soul is.
Exactly. So you can
Yeah.
really feel, and that's the, and being in communion and sharing with people like this. And we're talking, one concert I did in particular was about, there were a lot of people, about 1,700 people. And it was a classical audience. It wasn't a new
Uh,
age audience. I have a tendency to attract classical audiences. And
mhm.
they were all meditating at the end of the concert. They were sitting in their seats just in peace. And I realized, this, oh, just let me be the instrument. Because it was much bigger than I could ever perceive
Yeah.
or or work with. It was amazing. And we're talking about people who just aren't interested in new age things or
Mhm.
spiritual stuff, so to speak.
But they
We're
went
all
for
spiritual.
surrender.
Right. And then had reactions afterwards, people knocking on the door in the rooms in the back in the green room saying, "Oh, I my headache went away. My wife forced my fellow said his wife forced him to come. He doesn't like things he doesn't know about, unless it's Wagner." then and then he said, "But my headache went away. I've been, and I realized that, hey, this is out of my hands. This is the work of supreme consciousness, and our healing
Yeah.
is the capacity to access that realm of supreme consciousness.
Hmm.
So, when we do the workshops or the retreats, which I prefer because I love them, they're so immersive. That is when people start realizing and start gaining the experience of them being and having an access to that portal of supreme consciousness, and then teaching them how they can get there.
A
Yeah.
lot of people desire that so much, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't realize that they actually have the power.
I know.
Most people don't realize that they can create a retreat with someone like you to be able to help facilitate their access to something they already possess. And I think that, as a teacher, that's one of the things that is incumbent upon us is to keep reminding the person of their own spiritual power,
Oh,
that they're always going to be able to create a Vima to bring this incredible music and healing into their life, but that they too are the authors of their own healing.
that's right. All I'm doing is I can just say I've walked the path. This is what I've been up to all my
Yeah.
life. And this is what I'm sharing with you.
Hmm.
And you can do this. Now I call healing the transformation of wave patterns. So
Sure.
we must understand too the principles of pain, what causes pain, any kind of pain, be it mental, psychological, physical, emotional. Uh, and pain is pain. Bottom line, all it is stagnation and obstruction. And we
Hmm.
understand too that I did a tremendous amount of work with this wonderful teacher in London, who worked with the psychiatrist. Um, and I keep on wanting to say Alice Bailey, but it's not Alice Bailey. She's a Swiss psychiatrist, and her work was intergenerational clearing
Mm.
and what kind of traumas and information is passed on energetically and magnetically from generations of incarnate
Moving into epigenetic.
relatives. Yeah.
Hmm.
And we did this, I did work with him it was about 25 years for a few years on a regular basis. And it was amazing what I saw in relationship to our connection with Source, in relationship to healing, in
Hmm.
relationship to accessing states of peace. And I think that's really important now with all of the interferences and distractions of how things are being wired in
Yes.
the invisible matrix that exists here.
Oh, and
And
the
music
artificiality,
changes.
having these things
Mm,
and having all the cacophony of distractions that we have that take us away
mm-hmm,
from Source, from Mother Earth, from the feminine, and from the nurturing of the possibilities. And the thing about sound is that it's not telling you what to think. You're going accessing. And one of my jokes is, do any of us remember the days when radios actually had a physical button that you had to push? Or
Mm-hmm.
do we remember radios that actually had a dial and would go shh, and you would tune into that station, but once you had it, you knew what you had. And that's one of the reasons we were enamored with your work, is because it felt like you had this ability to tune into that station of the heart that people would align themselves with and help break the stagnation that caused the pain, and release
Exactly.
their inner power and so forth.
Exactly. And it all relates to fear of pain. It all relates to the bottom line aspect of fear. And we're talking about, okay, we're talking universally, everything's moving faster. There's a swifter momentum. We are feeling it. And also the electronic waves, that how it affects our nervous system, we are experiencing the illusion of time as being amped up. So when people talk about earth changes and things of that sort, it's all good and well. But bottom line is that we really have to look at how these things are affecting our nervous system and our
Mm-hmm.
states of behavior, consciousness, how we act and interact with others, as well as the mechanism connection
Mm-hmm.
within ourselves. And sound, the first thing that sound affects is the nervous system. Even inaudible sound, it affects the nervous system. And we think sometimes, when was it, back in World War II, they were doing mind control using sound frequencies.
In World War II.
I think it was World War II or World War I. My history is just very poor, but
No kidding.
they've
Wow.
been using the aspects of, without going into all of that, bottom line is sound, no matter what it is a very, is amazing, and it's very interdimensional, very expansive, above and beyond our capacity to even realize its importance in transforming our our states of consciousness and adapting to the evolution of the times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hear so much now, oh, these kids now that are coming in are so different. And I see my little baby nieces and nephews, and you can just tell they're wired differently. And at the same time, they are no different than we are. We just have to be more in tune to the universal frequencies that exist now. And yes, we have, God bless
And
you,
that's the thing,
we
is that
have,
they
yeah,
already exist. It's just whether we're tuned into them or not. But
exactly,
the existence, the
exactly.
sublime subtleties of the universe, the way I like to put it is God broadcasts 24/7. It's up to us to tune in to a broadcast that already
Hmm.
exists. And I think that's the transport of music that helps get us into alignment
Yeah,
with that purity.
yeah. I think it's also very important that people have just one or two little things to do a day that can, just a couple little tips that can get them in tuned when they realize their energy is shifting.
And
Because not everybody can live my life, not everybody can live your life. I feel my life, at one point my life chose me. I had dreams of record deals and having a house and a car, and
yeah.
and I end up, death experiences, India, working with women. um,
Well, you mentioned a couple of tips. So I'm going to hold your feet to the music
so to speak.
and say, but do you have a couple of those tips that you could give to our viewers?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. And one of them is a very simple sound. It's the NG sound closing the back of your throat. So it would be. So you're actually saying ing by opening and closing the back of your throat. So it'd be ing, 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 ing.
That was my assistant calling me. So
That's,
sorry.
do you
I don't
agree?
know if you went away. I don't know if you went away, but Deirdre called and my screen just went blank.
No, I
So
didn't go. I
would you mind to would you mind to repeat that, please?
Sure. Okay, one of the tips is, and I commonly do this, especially when I find myself getting a little impatient, or when my mind starts rushing, like I've got to get this done or that done. It's the ing sound. Ing, 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 ing. And you can almost do it so quietly, it's inaudible. Ing, 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 ing. You'll be amazed how that feels in the body and how that calms the system. Amazing. And that's something but the most important thing is to be aware of when you need to do this.
I've,
So
I've heard some vocal artists using just that sound that you made.
mhm.
And it's interesting too because it evokes a memory in me of somebody going and then doing harmonic overtoning. Where they're doing more than one tone at the same time by accessing their nasal cavities and so forth.
Oh yeah, that the Siget system is, but you see it's still open back there. So when you're doing vocal overtoning, it would be more like
Just like that.
but the
Mm.
connects the energetic connection. You go through the chakras. We actually have more than 7 chakras, yeah, as you well know. That comes down and around and meets meets at the tip of the tongue. So when you close up the back, there is this connection that happens that integrates the whole energetic chakra system.
Hmm.
And then so when you hum, and the pranayam, the breath is vitally important. As you inhale, so I would do this in the grocery store line. And it's interesting how little babies and children know what I'm doing when it's hardly audible.
You,
It's
you
it's
get their
it's,
attention.
it's for some reason
They
they
just
just tune in. So, but it's very simple to just breathe, focus on the third eye, and just standing there breathing. And exhale with the ings. Yeah. So um, it's quite effective, quite
hmm
effective. But I love it when people come out of retreats and concerts just transformed, and you can really see the difference. You can really, really see the difference energetically around them.
Well,
That's
let
beautiful.
me just jump ahead for a moment here.
Mm-hmm,
You have a
mm-hmm,
retreat coming in
mm-hmm,
Hawaii, and I
mm-hmm.
think it's in April, right? And can you speak just a little bit about that so our listeners, our viewers, know what this is?
Okay. It is April 13th through the 20th on the island of Oahu. And we have a beautiful, beautiful place just snuggled right in the mountains. It's called the Windward Retreat Center, and it is located in a very remote area, Ka'ala, close to the beach, close to hiking in the mountains. And we chose this center because we did not, most people who have retreats in Hawaii, Costa Rica, really, it's just so far beyond most people's reach financially. Yeah, we're talking $3,000-4,000, and we managed to find this beautiful place so that it isn't. It's about $2,100 or $2,400 for a person for a full week. I
Hmm.
have a celebrity chef that's coming. That's a friend of mine, actually, and she's going to be doing vegan cooking. So we'll have, there'll be 3 meals for everyone. Beautiful, wonderful dishes created by Madna Sundari. And also, aside from the teachings, I'll talk about that in a minute, but there are other little features that I want to mention. There's an ancient practice in Hawaii called Lomi Lomi, and it's a massage practice
Yes.
for those who want to participate and have Lomi Lomi done. This gentleman is coming with his crew, one or two other people to work on one person. They work on two people work on you at the same time. And his life transformation. I believe in working with healers that heal what they have used to heal themselves.
Sure.
So Kevin has been through an incredible life transformation and just incredibly tuned in and still very grounded in a very healthy, masculine, beautiful way, and very loving, very, very loving. And so the Lomi Lomi is available. And then we have my friend Kano'ena, who is a Hawaiian seer, and she'll be doing ceremony. We'll be taking the girls out in ceremony and a heiau, which is a sacred place. And then another dear friend who is an expert on endocrine and thyroid conditions, Dr. Karen Paul. And doctors from all over the country consult with her. She's absolutely brilliant. So there's going to be an afternoon of learning about the endocrine system, which I think is vitally important and totally relates to sound. But
So
she's going to do her thing.
getting back to the centerpiece of the retreat is you.
Yes. There we're going to be doing singing circles every morning. There's going to be pranayama, yoga, meditation. One day we're going to be doing darkroom meditation and accessing that central seat of light. A lot of stuff is going to be covered about sound. Sound and healing and techniques and methods to apply and use. And then I also want to hear what is going on with the participants, because there are things that can be adapted for individuals. Also, I have, this is a vision of music that I had never knew how it could manifest, because I've always worked with symphony musicians or professional musicians. But I've always heard the symphony of strings, exclusively strings. So within the past couple of years, I've managed to accumulate a few sundaras, which are, one is 54 stringed instrument, the rest are 33. And also,
strings.
Oh, it's amazing. The instruments. So I'm going to be doing a lot of work with that for the participants.
And it sounds like a sound bath.
Oh, it is.
It
will be.
Pureness of sound.
And I got this, someone gifted me this beautiful crystal harp from Russia. So it's all going to be about sound, and not only with teachings, but also giving them the experience and having them take themselves through experiences and traverse that inner master within each individual, so that they can go home and be and apply. It's not, they can have that fullness of experience. So there's going to be a lot of techniques, a lot of sharing, a lot of love. I just thought that the Lomi Lomi and the thyroid endocrine information and the sacred sites, it all intermixes with the foundation of the sound work that we will be doing.
That's wonderful. So now, the shameless self-promotion, how do people get a hold of you? What is your website?
VimaLamura.com. It's VimaLamura.com. And under retreats, there is information about the retreat. Also, on YouTube, we created a beautiful YouTube video that even gives you more substance about the sound work in terms of accessing your universal frequency, the unique signature of every individual's voice. You don't have to sing. And also, one thing I want to add is the aspect of repetition in using your voice. that changes neurological structure and
Hmm.
DNA structure. These things are really, really important, especially now.
That's my understanding.
Um, yeah. So you can access it by the retreats. Please look at the video. It's right there on the page.
And
And
there's a wealth of information on your website too. I mean, if
yeah,
people want any one of your CDs, if they want one of your books, if they want to know more about you, they can go to Vima, V-I-M-A, Lamura, Lamura, vimalamura.com, and they can find out more about you, plus any other events, calendrical events that you might have added in there. I know that, over the years of doing Light News Radio, people have lots and lots of questions. So, we'll finish the radio
hmm
program, but then they'll get on the net right away and they'll start researching and finding out more about, who you are, how to contact you. Not everybody